There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but I have to start in a pet shop. A pet store. Who doesn't love going to the pet store? It can be a little bit noisy, but it's fun, right? It wasn't in New York the other day. A lady, well, had a problem and kicked a puppy. Yeah, look at this. Kicking the little area where the puppy is hanging out. Does it again. And everybody in the place is like, whoa, you can't do that. You got to get out of here. Look at her reaction. She goes nuts, all right? Gets right in the guy's face. They're telling her to leave, and she doesn't want to leave. Apparently, that wasn't the first puppy she kicked either. So, what happened next? They finally convinced her to leave, and then this happened.
What is wrong with this lady? Yo, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Oh. Get the out of here. What is wrong with you? Oh my God.
Wow. Hit that lady and then spit. This was a local story, right? It was in the newspaper, didn't capture global attention, and I don't really think it should. I mean, she acted up in a pet store, slapped one person. This is not exactly, a war. But why is it that the media sometimes make the biggest deal out of the smallest occasion, like, say, an argument?
A confrontation caught on video, a white woman blocking a black tenant from entering their apartment building, demanding proof that he lives there.
Yeah, that was a big global story. She wanted to know if a stranger lived in her building. She lived there. She had a key. He did not. He followed her in. She was uncomfortable with that. She didn't hit anybody. Nobody got hit. It was an argument. It was a global story. Maybe you saw the woman, they call her the bicycle Karen. She had an argument about who rented the bike. We have these public rental stations here in New York. Take a look.
Please help me!
It's not your bike. It's not your bike.
Please help me! Help! Please get off me!
Wait, what the what's going on, bro?
Please get off.
Yo, don't not take it,
Bro, now you're not getting the bike, bro.
Hey, now you're not getting the bike.
Help!
You're not getting the
Get
bike.
off.
I'm not. Bro,
Why you took his phone? What's wrong with you?
stupid as something. You're not
Don't touch
touching
his
my
phone.
phone.
Do not touch his
You're
phone.
penis.
She was pregnant. She rented the bike first. It was her bike. They didn't want her to have it. It's kind of like your bike is being stolen, even if it's rented. She said, help. Apparently, you're not supposed to call for help when you need help.
The confrontation grew quickly between the white hospital employee and young black men just getting ready for a bike ride.
The white woman here is seen attempting to steal a city bike from a young black man, claiming she was threatened and was calling for help.
There's a lot of emphasis on race, isn't there, right? White woman, black man, young black man, just wants to go on a bike ride. The white woman. This sounds awfully familiar.
This is a typical case of a white womaning, right? So we see the disrespect, we see the privilege.
White women have taken an active role in the maintenance of white supremacy.
My advice to white women is mind your own goddamn business.
Wow. So this overt racism is a result of the 2016 election. You know why? You know why there's so much hostility out there, encouraged, sanctioned by the mainstream media against white women? Because white women had the nerve to vote for Donald Trump. More white women voted for Donald Trump in 2016 than they did for Hillary Clinton. And ever since, they've been punished because they want to control the way white women vote. I don't look at the world that way. It's just people. It doesn't really matter. But the liberals see this and they're using it. And you saw, for minor little, disagreements, all hell breaks loose. Yet somebody kicks a dog and then smacks a person. And if we wanted to, we could talk about race. I think she was having a horrible day, might be mentally ill. I mean, she kicked a dog. This person hates everybody, not white, not black, just has major problems. It's funny how that works, right? Isn't it? And I want to stay on dogs for a moment. Joe Biden has an issue when it comes to dogs. You've heard about this, right? Commander, the latest German Shepherd to be banned from the White House, well, has bitten 24, at least 24 Secret Service agents. That's a lot of biting. What is happening there? What happened? Why couldn't they control this dog? And it wasn't the first dog that was biting everybody around the White House. Major, another German Shepherd that they banished from the White House. He bit 2 staff members. They removed that dog from the White House. Remember, they tried to make light of it. They tried to pretend it was all cute, but it wasn't.
On Monday, the first family's younger dog, Major, was surprised by an unfamiliar person and reacted in a way that resulted in a minor injury to the individual, which was handled by the White House medical unit with no further treatment needed. It had been previously planned already for the dogs to be cared for by family friends in Delaware during Dr. Biden's travels to military bases this week. She has a 3-day trip this week, and the dogs will return to the White House soon.
All right, talk about spin. The dogs did not come back to the White House. The dogs were removed permanently. Major and Sham, Joe Biden's dogs, moved out of the White House. Now, what kind of man gives away dogs that he adopted for life, right? What kind of man gives away a dog? This is when Joe adopted the dog at the Delaware Humane Society. You see what it says in the back there? Making friends for life. You gave away a dog. The whole thing stinks. Something is up. It's weird. And if they'll lie about the little things, they'll lie about the big things. They made a big deal once Major left that they got a new one, a better dog named Commander. Here's the video they put out. Ooh, look at that nice pup, right? Everything's fine. I've talked to some people, some canine experts. The problem is not with the dogs. The problem is Joe. Dogs, especially German Shepherds, they respect authority, and they kind of want there to be an alpha dog. But Joe is so weak and kind of out of it, the dog becomes the alpha dog. You see that? Joe's along for the ride. Let me see the one on the couch. Let me see the one on the couch again. Who's the man of the house? I feel like the dog is in charge, and Joe is just along for the ride. All right, look, I know this is not all that critical, all that paramount, but there's something wrong. Who remembers when Joe had an injury to his foot and he blamed the dog? It's the most bizarre thing. He had a boot, right? We don't have casts anymore. We wear boots. Well, again, if he'll lie about the little things, he'll lie about the big things. Does anybody in the world think any of this actually happened?
What happened was I got out of the shower, I got a dog, and anybody who's been around my house knows, little pup dropped a ball in front of me, and for me to grab the ball, and I'm walking through this little alleyway to get to the bedroom, and I had the ball like this, and he ran, and I was joking, running after him to grab his tail.
A second grader knows to not grab a dog's tail. A second grader knows it. Did he say something about the alley in his house? The alley? Where is he? Next.
And what happened was that he slid on a throw rug, and I tripped on the rug he slid on. That's what happened.
That's what happened. All I know is that didn't happen. No way in the universe did that happen. Next, please.
When President Putin ordered his tanks to roll into Ukraine, he thought we would roll over. He was wrong. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
So it's 2 years ago this weekend that Russia invaded Ukraine. And a couple of things need to be said about that. Number one, most Americans believe that the invasion would not have taken place if Donald Trump were still in the White House, right? And everybody, I think, needs to know this, that the green light was given by the United States to Russia to invade Ukraine in the first place.
And I'm not so sure he is certain what he's going to do. My guess is he will move in. He has to do something.
My guess is he will move in. He has to do something. It's just days before the invasion. What about drawing a line in the sand? You know, I know the Obama administration never meant it when they talked about red lines, but some sort of tough talk. Don't do this. They just did it. And now when Joe talks tough about Ukraine, it's always about people, who are just not so convinced that we can keep writing these checks. This is when Joe turns on the passion.
It's about time they step up, don't you think? Instead of going on a 2-week vacation. 2 weeks. They're walking away. 2 weeks. What are they thinking?
So we're 2 years into this war, and I don't really know what's going on. I know that Nikki Haley can't name any of the provinces that are up for grabs or in dispute. Same with a lot of Republicans who are so pro-war. What's really at stake here? How about an explanation, Joe? How about talking to the American people straight? Not just yelling at Republicans because they're not writing the checks fast enough. There is a way a true leader could talk about this war. I want to go back to Richard Nixon. You know, he was winding down the war in Vietnam, but it was a long, hard slog. He would talk to the American people 30, 40 minutes at a time from the Oval Office and actually show what we were doing, how we were doing it, and why we were doing it. Take a look.
Now, confronted with this situation, we have 3 options. First, we can do nothing. Well, the ultimate result of that course of action is clear. Unless we indulge in wishful thinking, the lives of Americans remaining in Vietnam after our next withdrawal of 150,000 would be gravely threatened. Let us go to the map again. Here is South Vietnam. Here is North Vietnam. North Vietnam already occupies.
What are we
this
looking
part
at
of
here?
Laos.
We're looking at leadership,
If North Vietnam
presidential leadership.
also
And all Joe Biden can do is
this
bark.
whole
I know
band
Nixon wasn't
in
the
Cambodia
perfect president,
or the
but
entire
this
country,
is a lot
it would
better than
mean that
yelling
South Vietnam
at
was completely
Republicans about not writing the check on time, right? All right, I want to say something about Navalny, the Russian dissident who died, probably killed by Putin. Here he is. Navalny, his widow, met with Joe Biden in the White House. Now, this is I don't know, the left loves this. Thing is, why isn't he talking about peace? Look, for Joe to be hanging around her, that is not going to lead to a peace negotiation. Is there anything wrong with talking about peace? Apparently, in this climate, it's wrong. It's a mistake. You can't talk about peace. The only one talking about it is Trump. And Navalny and Trump actually do have some things in common. Navalny, does anybody believe he actually embezzled money from a lumber company? That's what he was arrested for. A Russian court actually found him guilty of embezzlement. That's all the way back in 2013 when he first started showing up on Putin's radar.